Airbnb has been busy this summer. The company now has an Apple Watch app, and earlier this year hit its goal of having 1 million guests staying in Airbnb in a single day. But it still has to ensure that, as its team continues to grow, the company's focus on simplicity stays in sight. We sat down with Airbnb's Joe Zadeh to find out more about where the company is right now.
Today I do sort of two different things. I lead our product management team, but then I also lead cross-functional, very product-driven initiatives for the entire company.
And so what does that look like your sort of day-to-day activity?
It kind of breaks down very similarly across like 50% on each. So, I'll be interviewing, people for the PM team. I still meet every single PM we hire. I still interview them. And then the other half of the time I'll be, working with sort of cross-functional groups on, how do we, move this initiative forward. One of the things I'm working on a lot these days is making the booking process really simple. So I'll be, hands-on with design, hands-on with engineering, hands-on with, obviously product management, but then sometimes even hands-on with customer support, trying to understand what they're seeing from, people calling into Airbnb and like what, how we can make that significantly better.
And I think the CEO, Brian Chesky, had mentioned something about wanting to hit 1 million guests in a day, and you guys hit that recently?
Yeah, we hit that in August. I forget the exact date, but it was in the middle of August, and yeah, we're super excited. And every year we just see that number of people coming to Airbnb for the first time, but also returning to Airbnb. We keep seeing that increase, which is really awesome.
So when you're talking about hitting these like big milestones, like 1 million guests in a night, how do you think about scaling up in terms of just the infrastructure and also making sure that the team, as you continue to grow as a company and as a business, continues to sort of stay on track?
It starts with hiring. Hiring people that can grow as fast, if not faster, than the company. Heavily focusing on that before we even hire people has been helpful. And then once people join, we try to coach people on that. One of our core values is embrace the adventure, and it's making sure that people understand that what works today is not going to work 1 year from now. What works this summer is not going to work next summer.
What are some of the challenges of kind of transitioning along with the rest of the tech universe to mobile?
Airbnb is this sort of nexus between the online and offline worlds, and that is what mobile is. Mobile is the technology that lives between the online and offline worlds, and so we think it's a great enhancer for travel. We also think it's a great enhancer for the host side of the business, where providing hospitality is not something where you should be chained to your desk. It's something where we want you to respond to your guests as fast as possible, wherever you are. If you're out dinner with your friends, if you're out showing your other guests around, we want you to be able to respond super quickly.
And so does that look like, messages going back and forth, or what are some examples?
What we focused on with the Apple Watch was pure messaging. How do we keep a nice heartbeat between guest and host on mobile devices or wearable devices? But also on mobile, we've heavily focused on booking. How do we make it really easy and really fast to book?
And how has that affected the sort of mobile experience so far with instant booking and, especially in light of a lot of these on-demand startups coming up and people wanting responses and being able to confirm these things right away?
We've seen a tremendous growth in Instant Book. I think we are now over 300,000 Instant Book listings around the world, and a lot of hosts love it. It makes their life significantly easier. What's great is that when you sign on Instant Book, you can choose between, I want 7 days lead time, I want 1 day lead time, I want 0 days lead time. So when we show you something, same day, we have a lot of confidence that the host has actually said, I can take people last minute. And what we see in the mobile case is that majority of mobile bookings are for last minute reservations, and now we have a way to accommodate that.
Going forward, do you think that eventually in the future everything can kind of fit that sort of on-demand nature, in terms of everything being able to be instantly booked and that kind of trust existing inherently between your guests and your host?
Hosts, when they let somebody into their place, they want to make sure they have confidence that it's the right fit and that it's someone that they can trust. And so we're finding ways to, how do we make that process as frictionless as possible? And some of the first things that we've done, hosts are not even aware about. So we have, personalization that can study host preferences in terms of like what kind of stays do people want? Do people want long stays or short stays? Some hosts say, I'll take any length of stay, but in reality they only accept long stays, and so our algorithms can understand that. And when somebody searches for a short stay, well, they don't even show that host. And so we're starting to understand, what are some host preferences, both implicit and explicit, and trying to build that into how our algorithms work.
How do you think about those trade-offs that you have to make in order to make it a more minimalist and more simple experience?
You can't do everything. You have to do a few things really, really well. And the best way to make sure that you don't do too many things at once is to actually have a clear vision of where you want to get to 18 months from now, 5 years from now. Turns out that that is a great simplification mechanism, because all of a sudden it cuts out a lot of noise of things you could be doing, and it helps you focus on the things that you really should be doing. The watch is a great example because it's still in its infancy, but it's a great tool to keep people connected faster with less friction. And so that makes a lot of sense. And we didn't do the watch just do a watch. We do the watch because it's in service of tighter human connection.
And what was the development process for that look like?
From start to finish was about 2 months. It was it started with a lot of exploration on design, how do we think about what the watch is new, how do we think about different ways the watch can be used, and some rapid design prototypes followed by building it, testing it, and shipping it.
What are some of the developments and things that you learned over the course of the summer?
Things that we want to launch for the travel season, we need to be starting those things much, much earlier. And so we did that last year, and so a lot of the things that led to us hitting 1 million nights in one single night or a large productive summer were because we got started on the travel season about how we thought the travel season should look like 3 months earlier than we were before. And so we've just kind of been learning over time what are the natural rhythms of our business and how can we play to them stronger.